Max had never asked for stability. The world had never given it to him anyway. Shuffled through foster homes like luggage, he had learned to speak through paint, splashing color on concrete walls, telling stories that no one cared to hear. Now 25, his rebellion had caught up with him, arrested for vandalism, facing the real possibility of a criminal record. But then came the bargain. His foster father, the man who once pretended to give him a home, pulled some strings. No prison, no record, only community service. The irony burned like acid. His placement? A private, weathered eldercare facility on the edge of town. When Max arrived, the building loomed like a relic of grief, its brick walls mottled with ivy, its windows staring blankly into the gray afternoon. The superintendent handed him a ring of keys and a warning. "You can go anywhere, except the 4th floor." Max laughed it off at first. Every Gothic tale had its forbidden wing. But soon, that ban felt less like superstition and more like a threat. Days blurred into uneasy routines, fixing lights, cleaning, carrying boxes. Yet it wasn't the labor that unsettled Max. It was the residents. They seemed off. At night, he woke to find figures standing silently in his room, residents staring at him with hollow eyes before shuffling away. One woman bled spontaneously from her arm while talking to him, as if her veins had burst on their own. Others slipped in and out of strange, dissociative states, whispering incoherent prayers. Still, he found moments of warmth. An older woman named Ruth spoke to him kindly, recalling her childhood like it was yesterday, though her eyes carried an ocean of sorrow. A thin, wiry man named Joseph cracked jokes, trying to lift the gloom. They gave Max a fragile sense of belonging he hadn't felt since his older foster brother's suicide, a decade ago. But the warnings echoed louder each day. Don't go to the 4th floor. Don't ask questions. Don't look too long at the scars under their sleeves. Curiosity won. Late one night, Max crept up the stairwell, the air colder with each step. The 4th floor smelled of rot and disinfectant, its lights flickering weakly. Here, residents lay slumped in wheelchairs or tied to beds. Their bodies bore deep lesions, their eyes clouded with madness. They were breathing corpses, suspended between life and something worse. One man suddenly lunged at Max, clawing at his face, screaming in guttural tones. Others moaned, warning him to leave. Trembling, Max fled, heart hammering, but the truth had already burrowed inside him. Something monstrous was happening here. The next morning, Max's fragile world shattered. Ruth, the one friend who gave him comfort, was gone. She had fallen from a window, her body impaled on the wrought iron fence. But Max knew the truth: she had been silenced. In shock, he returned to his foster parents' house. Maybe they could offer him answers. Instead, he found 2 new foster children living there. Innocent faces, wide eyes, lives dangling in the same web of deceit he once endured. They led him to a locked room filled with religious symbols, candles, crosses etched into the walls. His foster mother, flustered, slipped and admitted she knew Ruth. That was the crack. And from it spilled the horror. Ruth's death was no accident. The 4th floor's most violent resident wasn't a stranger. He was Max's brother. His foster parents had faked his suicide years ago. The brother had been taken to the facility, broken down, harvested. Max returned, rage and grief twisting his insides. But the trap was already sprung. The staff captured him. He was dragged to the 4th floor, chained, forced to listen. The truth cut like knives: the facility was a cult. Residents, staff, even his foster parents, all of them fed on the tears and ocular fluids of foster children. It was their elixir, their secret to longevity. The children were drained, broken, discarded. Ruth had tried to protect Max, even confessed her guilt for exploiting him in the past. That guilt sealed her fate. Now Max was the next vessel, his use siphoned for their survival. But his brother wasn't gone, not completely. Scarred, disfigured, and half insane, he still clung to shards of humanity. In secret defiance, he gathered the liquid from his own eyes and those of the other tortured victims. With trembling hands, he forced it into Max's mouth. The taste was metallic, burning, yet it flooded Max with unimaginable strength. A storm howled outside as if the heavens themselves revolted. With his brother's help, Max broke free. They unleashed chaos, tearing through the cultists, the elderly fiends shrieking as their stolen vitality drained away. The house quaked, thunder splitting the sky. His brother fell in the struggle, consumed by the very torment he had endured for years. But his sacrifice gave Max and the survivors one final gift. When the storm finally broke, silence hung heavy. The cult was dead. The house, once suffocating with secrets, now stank of ash and blood. Weak but alive, Max led the surviving residents out. They carried with them the remnants of their stolen youth. The faint glow of vitality returned. The morning sun pierced through clouds, gilding their escape. For the first time in his life, Max wasn't running away. He was carrying others to freedom. But in his veins still surged the cursed elixir. And deep in his chest, he felt the weight of his brother's sacrifice. The cult was gone, but the shadows they left behind would haunt him forever.